Andy, it hasn't really hit the news yet, but I'm quite concerned, I don't know if you are, about the issue of the Tri-Fire, which is the organisation that were giving out fire certificates for tall buildings. That's been sanctioned by the Home England, and that's not sanctioned in the good way, it's sanctioned in the bad way. So technically, what I'm being told, and I'll use the word allegedly because it is quite new, but allegedly there could be a whole number of tall buildings in London that don't actually have a bona fide fire certificate because of the way they were issued. The checks weren't done correctly. One, are you aware of that? Probably are. Two, are you concerned about that? Three, what actions do you feel you need to take?
So we're already taking action in this space. We're actively engaged with colleagues in MHCLG to understand the scale of the problem, and that's not, you know, I couldn't appropriately give details into this because there may well be some sort of legal consequence anyway around this. But we are actively engaged. We are aware, certainly, of the early kind of analysis of the scale of the problem, and we share your concerns along with anyone else who operates responsibly in this environment around what is clearly an unacceptable set of behaviours and lack of expertise in analysing buildings that have wall cladding systems, because it was in that space that obviously the kind of deficiencies have been identified. So I think what I would say is it is important to recognise Tri-Fire as a single issue of concern that we're actively engaged in. But what it really speaks to is the warning laid bare in the inquiry report about the lack of regulation of fire engineers, the lack of a proper national competency framework for fire risk assessors. And I would argue that you may well want to consider them within a form of regulation. And a question about the kind of sustainability of the current approach to building inspection full stop. So once you go past, because dangers don't just lurk in fire, they lurk in construction. If you think about RAC, if you think about concrete panel systems, modular buildings, really it's the whole assessment and inspection industry. The inquiry report identifies, and Jules has spoken to this earlier, to the lack of depth, education, and really proper regulation of standards in those spaces. So I think it speaks to a much wider concern, which I know the government are aware of, and I know the previous government was struggling with as well. But if we are going to honour the Phase 2 inquiry report, we are going to have to get a grip of it together.